Good morning. Hello. Hi. How are you?
I'm fine, Anita. How are you?
I'm great. It's been a while. We are back. This is the second edition of the Youth Podcast, actually known as the Echoes of Africanism. Welcome all to the show. Today's topic is on the importance of human capitalism towards the development of African continent. Hello to our guest.
Hello, Anita. This
How
is
are
Mesha
you?
from Kenya.
Hi. How is Kenya, by the way?
It's great. At least today we had a bit of rainfall in the morning hours, and climate change
Uh,
is a part issue in our African.
hello,
All right. Hi, Mr. Dennis.
I'm
Can you hear me? Mr. Dennis, hi.
I'm good.
And how is the conditions in South Africa, I believe?
Kenya. I hope I'm audible.
I didn't get that.
Am I audible on your end?
I still didn't get that, but it is okay. I am not doing this show alone. I am with Florian as a co-host. Hi, co-host. How are you?
I'm fine, Anita. How is Botswana?
Botswana is very moody as always. It's very, very moody. The weather conditions are like a woman in her cycle. So,
Let me
yeah.
know.
Uh, I know. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back. Let's get the show on the road. Like I said, the topic of discussion in this month's edition is importance of human capital towards the development of the African continent. First and foremost, the main question, what is human capital? And when we look at Africa, what is the general reality of it? Dennis? Hello, am I audible? Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Am I audible on that end?
Yes, you are. I thought I was the one who was not audible because everyone was silent.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you. And thank you for the
May I?
invitation today. I'm really
Okay.
proud for it. Yeah, we also woke
May I
up
repeat
with rain
the
here in
question?
Kenya, the capital. Yeah, the capital of Nairobi. Yeah. So, and coming now to look on the reality of human capital in development in Africa, you really first have to to understand what really human capital is, because when we are looking on that context of human capital, it's actually the knowledge, the skill sets, the abilities that are given to all that humans or individuals possess in the process of productivity and um, giving the economic value in that sense. So generally looking on the African context, we are on the strength of improving. However, the situations are difficult in some states in Africa. while others are trying to improve on the part of human capital, which we are actually referring to as the skill set and the abilities and the knowledge that is given, that is possessed by individuals, and majorly deals with education and health of individuals in Africa. So generally, Africa is not in a very good situation. However, as I have said, it is in some various states in the continent of Africa. For example, when we look on DRC, which has been struggling for quite a long time till today, you find like children nowadays, some of the of like a place known as Goma, there are still some children not going to school at the moment. But when you compare it with countries like Saint Jose and Botswana, where Anita is, it's a different situation when it comes to the education and health sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that one, Dennis. Hi, Mr. Kenneth. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you to everyone. Thanks to Dennis. Hi, Florian. Hi, everyone else who's listening.
All right. The question on the ground was, what is human capital? I guess maybe you'd want to say something about that question.
Absolutely. Uh, Dennis really hit the nail on the head. It would be just to add on what he has said. He's been very eloquent in explaining what it is. The most simplest definition of human capital, Anita, is a measure of skills, knowledge that people possess. In other words, what we try to do is to understand the value that they add. What are they bringing? What do they have now? And then you look at the value that they will add in the future. What do they have in the future? Or what could they have in the future were they to be developed? So, a simple example of that would be what level of education do they have? What skill sets do they have? What's their talent? Their health status? In other words, are they fit enough? Are they able to carry out the work that they must do? And their level of intelligence. So basically, that's what I would add. Otherwise, Dennis explained it quite well. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Florian, the floor is yours, sir.
On our human capital development, when we talk about human capital development, we touch many aspects of development, like development in relation to education, in relation to industrialization, in relation to technology, in relation to health innovation issues. Generally, when we talk human capital development, we try to compromise together all of the aspects of development together, which will be influenced by the development of human resources we have in our community. For example, if you have already produced enough pool of professors, maybe in health sectors, it means also you will also improve health sectors. If you have already prepared engineers, like what China did for the past years, as we see nowadays, all of the engineering contracts in developing countries are from Chinese companies. So human capital development is really essential for any growth, for growth of any countries, or for the growth of any continent, like what others have already invested. That's what I can say. Developing your people, developing the skills and talents of young generation, empowering them financially, or whether by ensuring political will, also maybe by having a good policies. That's what we talk about human development. We touch all that. We touch policies, we touch financial support, we touch political will in relation to development. But the main is developing your manpower. That's the main key issue, developing your manpower. So how are we going to develop our manpower in Africa? That's where we are talking right now.
Okay. I believe human capital and education are one and the same thing. They intertwine. You mentioned something about harnessing talent and how to build it and make it work for us. Are we really doing that in Africa? Are we seeing talent being extorted, and are we seeing it selling and given back to us as a continent? Anyone can take it,
Thank
and
you.
anyone can take it.
For my
I think
side,
so far,
what I can
Anita.
say.
Oh, okay, I see. I see. Sorry.
Okay, Kevin, you can go on, Kevin. Kenneth, go on. Kenneth, go on.
All right, my brother. All right, my brother. Um, you know, if we look at the Human Capital Index, the 2020 report, it really paints a bleak a picture on the state of human capital in Africa. Um, for example, where we are in sub-Saharan area or region, this human capital index, which really measures the these elements we spoke about human capital, which is knowledge, skills, and other components. It shows that sub-Sahara has the lowest. It measured as the lowest of all the regions, and quite a number of African countries they follow this sub-Saharan region, meaning uh, we have a problem. It could be the level of knowledge, the level of skills, it could be the level of health, and a lot of things are contributing to these factors that are here. Now, if we have such a problem, and Africa having the youngest population in the entire world, almost 40, if not more than 40% of our population are young people, then and with this problem of very poor human capital, we're sitting with a problem. Now, the little bit that we have, because of absence of opportunities, because of uh, environment that is not conducive uh, uh, to thriving, to progressing, they end up getting on the ships. And these are the young people we read about when we hear that some migrants they capsized or they died along the way, or they've been swallowed by the sea trying to cross into Europe, and that's exactly what's happening. We are losing quite valuable human capital. These are people who have actually uh, gone against uh, all the odds, got the bit of education they could get, got the skills they could get against all odds. Instead of being given an opportunity to plow them back into Africa, they're actually suppressed. In other words, by the conditions, it can be the politics that are wrong, it can be so many other factors that are happening, and they end up skipping and moving out of the continent. So we can see that there is that loss of human capital. It's a self-created crisis. I think a lot of it, we should look inward. We should look at our leaders and understand the politics that are at play here, and try to understand why is this problem persisting. Is there nothing that can be done to address it? I think that's my take on your question, Anita.
Oh wow, self-proclaimed problem. That one is it's a dagger. It's a strong word, and it is, I don't know the term, the rightful term to use for it, but it is self-explanatory at the state of Africa right now. Dennis, maybe you want to say something?
Yeah. I really noted the same that, here in Kenya, you find that a leader or someone just tells us that I'm creating jobs for you outside Africa, while that skill set is required here in Africa. For example, a case of nurses last year in December, we graduated over 60,000 nurses. And Kenya, a population of over 50 million people, the nurses are being told will ship you to the UAE countries where we have around 30 million people with with a nurse skill set of 55,000, where in Kenya we are in deficit of nurses. And this skill set is required here in Kenya, where we are still suffering, and you find it's still the same situations in each and every, in most of African states. And you know, there's also a mismatch in the skill set that we are putting here in Africa, that you find whatever you are taught is not what is required in the workplace. So you find, for example, a child starting primary school, you are being taught about the part of a leaf and the part of an insect. And you expect that child, when it comes to the market price, and you find you are not being asked about the part of a leaf and a part of an insect, then the skill set and the mismatch has been quite a big problem and a big issue here in Africa. And that's why I have seen most of some of the readers are actually trying to invest in technical trainings, so that people, or the young population in Africa, can match the work that is required. That is it, Anita. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Meshach has been quietly silent. I want to believe he has something to add to the topic. Mr. Meshach, hello.
Yes, for sure. Hello, Anita. How are you? I'm
Hi, can
back.
I
My
please see
network was
you?
somehow problematic.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm back.
Oh,
About our topic for today, that and the section that we are handling, the human capital development in our African continent. As you earlier alluded, that human capital development and education are very correlated. I would like to say also, as we talk of education, we must include the aspect of our economy, whereby when we have this educated population, this skilled and knowledgeable population, it will have a direct impact on the economy as well. When we have a big population that is well skilled and that has the requisite knowledge about the fields that build on our economy, we can always be sure that the economy will grow, and this economic growth must match the demands of the population. For instance, when you look at our Africa, we are always talking about Nairobi, Kenya, as alluded or as explained earlier, that we have technical training institutes. We need, as we have the same here in Kenya, we have TVET, that is Technical Vocational Education Training Institutes, something like that. They are trying to move from imparting knowledge without skills, because knowledge and skills are two things that if one lacks, the other then is affected. For one, when our universities are more aligned to the economy, they do give skill set that the industry needs. That's why when a fresh graduate comes out of the university, thinks that the market is so ready for them, but that is actually the opposite of the reality. Then that skill, they ask you how many years of experience do you have. That is just a question of how much or how long have you applied your skill. Then if we have a transition between knowledge and skill, and move towards an education system that incorporates both aspects of imparting knowledge and also developing the skill set of learners in Africa, then our human capital development and the dream of Africa can be actualized. When you look at countries like, let me give an example of Israel. These are countries whereby you find their classes are so noisy and haphazard, and th- they are just discussing. They are doing a lot of practical things. And now here in Kenya, you will find that noise making is an aspect that and in Africa, noise making in us is an aspect that guarantees you a disciplinary measure. When maybe your seatmate has a point to defend, has an idea that maybe can move this topic to a different direction that maybe can take the class to achieve something. So I think all these things brought together, our podcast is so much relevant, and echoes of Africanism is where we all are and our hearts are. Thank you.
Thank you for that one. I honestly thought the issue of graduates was happening only here in my country, Botswana, where you would find that a newly graduate, you graduate yesterday, you apply for a job, and you're told you need to have acquired about 5 years experience, and you wonder where, how. Like, it is a scary thing because many people do not get the opportunity to showcase that talent and what they can do because of the work experience and age. They have that thing of age where they'll tell you we need a certain age group with this certain amount of uh, experience, and it never links. And we see the same people being rotated, and you never acquire any change from that because people are not being used as they should be. And you wonder why we are going to school at the end of the day if you are not going to get in the workforce, in the work field, and give out what we have learned at the end of the day. Um, Oh, I've lost my co-host. I guess he'll come back. Another question in regards to education. What is the state of our education across the continent? However, I know Africa is a large continent. If you may, cut it in regions, the Western region, Southern region, just like that, and illustrate the state of education, and through it, can we acquire any form of human capital, and which region shows signs that they are trying when it comes to human capitalism development? I hope I made sense.
Yeah, I had you, and maybe I was checking on this on various states in Africa, and looking on the western part of Africa, where I noticed a country like Ghana. What they are doing is there's a level known as the senior high school level, where they actually it is free education at the senior level high school, so that to ensure that every Ghanaian is in school at that time. So it's a way of improving in that situation. But when you look on the other surrounding state in Western Africa, you find the situations are not usually the same. For example, when you look to the population in Nigeria, the situation is not the same as the situation in Ghana. But it's a matter of how to improve it, and as I said earlier, it's a matter of matching the skill set that is being important in the academic or in the education sector to the work sector as well. But when we come to a state in East and Central of Africa, I've noticed that there's quite a lot of improvement, especially when you look into a country like Rwanda, where the education is actually free from primary level, and they are trying to match actually the skill set and the work set as well. So it's a matter of kind of looking on the leadership that is governing a state or a country so that they can put more effort or more investment in the education sector, and not only to the student but also to the education which is put to the trainers or the educators of in that matter. Also going to the northern part of Africa is actually doing well when you take examples of Egypt, where the education is actually at high quality at the moment. Then going to countries like South Africa, I noticed they are trying to improve education, especially to the, we call them the disadvantaged communities where the education has not been there for quite a long time. So you find that the government is trying to make sure that the education in those areas is quite free of charge, and mainly while we're trying to make the education free in Africa, the quality is also a concern. The most thing that we have to look on the part of education is the quality. What quality are we giving to our skill set? And we're looking, and the forecast is that in years or in 20 years to come, Africa will have 70% of young population in the world. So looking onto that matter, whatever we are putting to this young generation has actually to be of quality, not just putting garbage and expecting quality out. Because you put garbage in, you expect garbage out. So it's a matter of looking on the quality that is being delivered to our population in Africa. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Anyone who wants to comment before we take another question?
Yes, I request to go ahead. Uh,
Okay.
as Dennis has singled out these three distinct areas, like in northern and southern and western, with Egypt representing the north, South Africa representing the south, and Ghana the west. What is the difference that makes these three stand out as per what parameters he went through? The leadership in those areas is what determines the policies. There is a very big and huge difference between a leader and a politician. You'll find out that politicians always keeps their people in hope with a lot of long manifestos that is never achieved, so that it becomes a subject of campaign. But leaders in these three countries are singled out. They have worked towards ensuring that their population is well educated and the quality is there. From Kenya in the Eastern Africa, we are coming there. The policies in our education sector are coming well with 100% transition from primary to secondary. Especially this time, we are transitioning from the 844 system to a CBC system, whereby we have junior secondary school, we have senior secondary school, then we have the university, and we have the primary. That is, they are graded, grades and whatever. So all this about the CBC system in our country is to bring us to the perspective of skills, because the policy makers sat down and thought that this 844 system has been giving out graduates, learners who are very knowledgeable but little less skilled. And to answer that, the generation of educated and less skilled is being phased out, and now they are trying to fix a problem that needs to be fixed, so that when a graduate comes out, they are both skilled and learned at the same time, so we don't face this problem of years of experience and such a things. Alternatively, we look at what you can do, not what you expect the employer to do for you. You don't need to be employed. You can venture into the economy as a self-employed or employ others. Thank you.
Okay, I want to believe that in Africa we have graded our education system. Botswana, South Africa, Kenya, it's all in the same path. We have primary, junior, secondary, senior, and university. And one thing I've noticed is you get to be noticed as compared to countries with smaller population like Botswana. Something about our country, we have free education from primary to university. However, despite it being free, it is downgrading at a very high pace, and it's very shocking. And I wonder, how can we improve that, not only for my country but for Africa as a whole? Is our education taking us any further, or we're just going about it because it's like a rite of passage in life? Also, what are the key issues to investing in the African education system to boost human capital?
Can I come in, Anita, please?
Yes, please.
There's one thing that is concerning. I'll try to address maybe 3 points or less. The first thing, it's interesting to note that on the floor there's a view that a fee-free system contributes to a drop in the quality. I often wonder, why is that the case? Because the minute I found that view a view that we need to analyze critically a bit more. Is it because there are a lot of people on the system? Is it because there isn't much appreciation for that? Because I would think, if I were to think broadly, that we should be pushing for more access to education and deal with these other things that come up, be it what is dropping the quality. Is it too much people coming? If it's too much, then we need to resource our institutions to be able to cater for an increased number of these people coming in. So we need to critically analyze what are these things that are causing a drop in the quality of education. Because we must remember also, as Africans, we've lived for a very long time, even now, in our own continent, where exclusivity was more of a norm than anything. In other words, we've always wanted to be exclusive, and we've believed that that exclusivity brought about quality. And it's quite very clear that because of that, that is why we've got problems we have. That's why we've got inequality. That's why we've got from that skills human capital index. That's why we've got less people that are skilled in our own continent. I think more than anything, the state should be pushing more. Our government should be pushing more. Exactly what Botswana has done. In South Africa, there was a period where students spent time trying to fight for a fee-free education so that there can be access. And if that access results in a huge number of influx, then more resources should be spent on that. It is actually, there's always a negative externality when countries spend little on development, spend little on developing youth. You think of crime, you think of many other things. So they are positive spin-offs when countries spend more on education. They would spend less on things like correctional services or jails. They'll spend less on social spending, meaning social grants and all that. So it is my view, although I'm open to being criticized for that, it is my view that if government were to spend more funds on education, make it fee-free. When I say spend more funds, in other words, uh, plug the gap, uh, deal with the problems that are contributing to a drop in the quality. I think that's the best way to develop our human capital. There is no any other way we can develop our human capital unless the state comes in, and that's exactly what Botswana has done. But obviously, Botswana is at a stage where now it has to improve how things are done. When I say improve, I mean once those gaps are identified, that yes, we've started the initiative, but it's got its challenges. Deal with those challenges rather than throwing away the bathwater with the baby. I think for starters, let me not add the other 2 points. Let me start there. I will add my 2 cents worth in a while.
All right, Mr. Kenneth. If I may add, I do remember the riots that took place in South Africa when the youth were fighting for free education and all that. Julius Malema stepped in. It was really crazy. However, you mentioned something that free education cannot be the reason why there is a decline in in the results that we are getting. True, true. It can be because of many reasons, particularly one that cropped in my mind can be the generation of today and how they analyze things. And I've also realized that when you pay for something that with your own hard money, you guarantee that it's worthwhile. But then if you just get something and you don't know where it comes from, its foundation and all that, you can do as you please. So there are many factors leading to why we are having a drop in education, not just in my country, but particularly the whole of Africa. You know, so anyone can take the floor regarding the question
Can I,
at hand, which is yes,
can I,
yes,
Anita, just maybe
yeah,
as a
you
point?
can,
Okay,
yeah, you
thanks.
can.
You know, Anita, we we cannot build our future based on people who don't appreciate what's being done for them. What you're defining as a what kind of a generation we have today, you spot on. They seem to appreciate less things that are done for them. At the same time, there is a huge majority that comes from extremely poor background that appreciate being given an opportunity. Now, we stand a risk of sidelining people who could be positive contributors in our lives, in the lives of our countries, in the life of our continent, where we just to look at things and base things only purely on that they won't appreciate being given free things. There are so many things that we receive free, but we show appreciation daily. So it shows us that we need a change of mindset. We need these very same young people who don't appreciate what's been done for them to be assisted. This is where the entire uh, uh, system now must come in, be it parenting, be it in society and all that. We need now to go back and a child and bring up a child and be a village. They say a child is brought up by the entire village. We need to do that. Why are you not at school? And all those things. We need to go back to those basics. Then I'm sure we will address some of our problems. You know, one stat that bothered me, Anita, is that of the children that will start grade 1, by the time they get to grade 12, it's about half of them. So what happened to the other half? And worse, beyond that, those who are going to tertiary, the statistics say it's less than 10% of them who gets to tertiary. So there's a huge number of children that are excluded, of youth that are excluded from participating in their own economic growth, in their own future. So that is why I say more of these free education policies has to be adopted by a lot of countries. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you. Does anyone have something to say? Oh, Florian, take the floor.
Thank you, Anita. I was trying to listen to Mr. Kenneth on a free education system in Africa, and I have something like I have some experiences from African countries, especially on the free education systems. One of the African countries which they have already tried to implement a free education system. Of course, they succeed somehow, but somehow they failed because they failed how? For example, they just ignore all of the fees, school fees, on whatever contribution from the parents. Yet the children they have to look for another option when they come to get a school meal. So the school meals they are totally ignored. And once they were totally ignored, you cannot create even a classroom where where children can be able even to utilize the resources which are being given by their teachers. Imagine being hungry. You have almost like 8 hours at the school, maybe 6 hours since morning up 12 noon. You must be feeling hungry. You must at least you could have even a good breakfast, even a stiff porridge, but nothing being given to them. And then they're just forcing them to stay to the school from 8 in the morning to the 4 p.m. in the evening. Imagine, is that person can be able even to capture what is being taught in the blackboard? And yet, most politicians, because they want to push their agendas to be accepted by the community, there was like, government have already removed the school fees, no any contribution from the parents. So I don't want to see any teachers trying to implement the school fees here, because the government have been denied those contributions. So even if the parents like decided to come together to have their own contribution for their kids to get meals at the schools, still politicians they were like, no, you don't need to do such contribution. So imagine how are we going to to develop our human capital? So for me, from my side, in order to improve on our education system in Africa, nutrition must be put at the center of education. We cannot have policies on free education in Africa ignoring nutrition. It's like we're just lying ourselves. That's my comment on that. So for African countries now, which are trying to implement a free education system, nutrition must be considered. That's my opinion. That's my advice. Thank you.
Oh, wow. I guess it's safe to say my country's doing something correct. Even though we have a lot to go and we need to correct a lot of things, I'm seeing that Botswana is a blessed nation and we're just not grateful enough. Because apart from free education, our peoples also get free food. You know, you don't just go through about school, there's breakfast, there's lunch, because the hours are just extremely long. Um, Thank you. Thank you for that one. I'll learn to be grateful going forward. I didn't see it as anything big until it's being mentioned now, because Africa is a whole huge continent, and if I can only scale it to where I am now, I am not taking into consideration that we as a country, we are extremely blessed as compared to others. We are just being somewhat selfish, I guess, and we're not
Yeah.
appreciating and taking care of what we have, what we've been given. But with time passing, I would like to go back to the question I asked. What are the key issues to invest in African education system to boost human capital? I would love to hear Meshach answer this one. His silence is just doing me injustice.
I'm actually not not that silent for nothing. I'm very much following up, Anita, and it's quite a
Okay.
healthy discussion here today. And concerning the previous, I would like to say that your country is so blessed, and your leaders, I think they had a vision on state capture and blocked all the possible means that your state could be captured and education system auctioned. Some of our African countries are culprits of state capture and education systems which are auctioned and privatized. Then that's why the proposals, the bills about free education may never make it to being approved as a law in the legislative arms of the governments. But as youths, we must not give up. We have to fight our way through. And when that time comes, I know Munene and I and you other African youths are very much keen and aware of the same. So you asked a question, and I would like you to kindly pardon it, so that I may go ahead and answer it.
Yes, you may. The floor is
Uh,
yours. Or you want me
I'm
to,
requesting.
to
Yeah,
Oh,
pardon the
okay.
question.
The question is, what are the key issues to invest in African education system to boost human capital?
All right. I would like to start with, first of all, we have to go about with the funding of education systems. When we have education ministries across the Africa which are underfunded and which do not have the infrastructure to nurture this skill set in our learners, to make sure that our learners in African continent gain the most out of the education, the programs that they are undertaking, then we would say that this education system does not meet the criteria, or does not have the muscles to give Africa continent the human capital it needs. And to develop on that, we must ensure and we must push for policies to ensure that education is funded sufficiently, because many politicians in Africa, they think that today, if you want to see a developed country in Africa, you have to look at infrastructure, which is not the case in our situation. We should look at the long-term goal, which, after we educate our population, we have a human capital that can impact on this economy, and this economy will translate to all other forms of development across our nations and our continent. And I think one is funding. Another thing to go about this is ensuring that we have professionals who are well equipped. That is the academic faculty or faculty members. If it's a teacher, we should have grades for teaching, not just those people who never met the cut for university or for medicine going to take education because it's the only way, when you don't meet nursing or being a doctor or being an engineer. We should have education cut points at the highest, because these are the people who will train our human capital. And now, if you are trained from the best, why would we have an argument that you would not come out being a very competent individual, both skill wise and knowledge wise? So I think that is a factor we can also consider. Thank you, Anita. I think we can debate on my points. It's open. Thank you.
Okay, his points are open. Dennis, Florian, Kenneth, anyone can take the floor.
Yeah, I really appreciate what Meshak is actually bringing out on the grading or the cluster cut point, where you find that those with the low grades are the ones who are left to take up this very critical part of educating the future generation and the current ones. So it's also a way of looking on how to enhance the teacher training levels and also the capacity building of the teachers that are coming to train these population which is actually required in this Africa and also in the world. Also modernizing on the curriculum. For example, what Meshach highlighted, which is happening here in Kenya, the competence-based curriculum, where learners are guided from, I think they usually go to school at the age of 5 or 3. Yeah, they start building the skill set from that age. And while someone is at grade 6 can actually be incorporated to somewhere or to some kind of industry in developing or in nurturing a certain skill. So it's more of modernizing that base of curriculum to align in the labor market needs and looking on the nature of how we are training the teachers who are taking over to that bit.
Okay. We have spoken in length about education. I want to hear you guys speak on industrialization and human capital, the link between the two. How is the state of our industrialization in Africa and how we can link the two? And are the two really bonding? Are they moving in sync?
Yes,
Can I?
there's a bot between the two. Oh, okay,
Oh, it's
okay. I can
withdrawing.
go.
Let me second take it. Munene is
Okay,
withdrawing.
Oh, no, this my brother. You should continue. Okay. What I wanted to add is really my final point because I'm about to sign out. Um,
Uh-huh.
is yeah, I'm sorry about that. Is that development and human capital and industrialization and the state of it in Africa. The simplest way to illustrate this would be look at what's happening to our gold, look at what's happening to our cobalt, look at what's happening to all our natural resources. They are shipped raw. That tells you the state of industrialization of Africa. We like a place with so much water, but we can't harvest our own water. We can't even package our own water as an illustration, but we're sitting on top of water and we're suffering of thirst as a result. So these two are linked in the sense that we wouldn't be having an sort of an excess of people who should otherwise be building the economy of our continent through industrialization, through, in other words, adding value to these products. We get a diamond. There is a manufacturer, youth who are being trained to polish diamond. I'm trying to illustrate, to make a simple illustration here. We add value to that product. We sell it as a finished product. That's the only way we could get our economy going. Value added products. What we're doing now, we're just selling raw material and they come back to us. We are being sold chocolate. But you look at Switzerland, doesn't have a cocoa plant. They don't even know what a cocoa look like, except when it's shipped to Switzerland. Britain, they don't have gold mines, but they've got stacks and stacks and stacks of gold sitting there. So again, we can see the problem here are wrong politics. Whenever wrong politics are applied, the citizen suffers. Whenever wrong policies are adopted, the citizen suffers. Let me take it a step further and say, currently in South Africa, there are policies about privatization, state-owned companies being privatized. That is a serious threat to exactly what we're trying to do, which is to retain the skills, to retain our own human capital. Because now, if you do that, you privatize. They are now driven by profit. The drive is profit, and over and above the drive being profit, obviously there will be less employees being employed. There will be the issue of 5-year work. There will be an issue of 5-year work experience being required. There will be an issue of work experience coming into the effect again, and their exclusion again. We will have a host of young people who are unable to come into the job market, who are unable to contribute or to do something towards their own future, to build their own economy. So you look at all those things. We can never talk of human capital and exclude and incorrect politics being applied in a number of our countries. It's not just South Africa. It's not just Nigeria. It's not just Burkina Faso. I'm illustrating here. I'm not being specific. Throughout the entire Africa, we're sitting with this, but we need to correct our politics first. Once we correct where the head, then we will get it right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kenneth, for being with us. I'm aware that your time is up, even though I left with 5 minutes to wrap the show. I'm gonna give each one of you guys a minute, just a minute to speak your last words, because I'm gonna throw a question in relation to health. So whatever your answer is should be a minute or less. Please. So before we conclude this conversation, can we acknowledge some of the efforts within the content in advancing human capital development? And please share some of this, particularly what YELF is doing in this regard. I'm not sure if I hope you understood the question. I hope you did. So Meshek, a minute.
I would like you to pardon the question because
Okay,
I'm
okay.
not a poor listener.
The question is, can we acknowledge some of the effects within the content in advancing human capital development and share some of these, particularly what YELF is doing in regard to the topic we just shared?
Okay. In human capital development, I have to acknowledge that leadership is at the core of it. And if we have the correct leaders in the policy making tables, then that is one of I will term it as the heart that pumps the blood into the stream of human capital development. And these are the people who will make the correct policies that touch exactly where our continent needs to be. And that is us. And YAF, as our organization, is speaking in the spirit and the letter of that. And speaking on the same, Yav has really touched on many. And when you want to speak to someone to their heart, speak in their language, and we speak in African language. Then we are
Thank
speaking to
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a minute. Another minute goes to Mr. Kenneth.
Yes, I'll be very brief. The effort that Prince and everyone involved in YALF is commendable. Bringing everyone from all corners of this continent to speak about issues that affect us is on its own a thumbs up, an indication that this is what they're trying to bring or to bring to the communities, to bring to the continent, to say we take everyone seriously. For the fact that we're having this discussion alone about human capital shows you that this is very important. It needs to be addressed, and YALF is leading the charges. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kenneth. Mr. Munene, you're the last one with a minute.
Thank you, thank you. I really acknowledge what YALF is doing, especially on the part of even putting out there a journal that is urgent, which is actually being presented to the AU and taking a lot of development articles which are being put over that praise to be utilized by several governments in Africa. So it's a very nice take that we are taking as health, and also ensuring that we are reaching to every corner of African continent. So it's the matter of involving each other, and also that part of your empowerment is doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure hosting you for this month's edition of Echoes of Africanism, where we discussed the importance of human capital towards the development of our continent, Africa. Thank you so much, Kenneth, Meshach, Dennis, and Florian, for being with us, and to everyone who took part in this show. Until we meet again in the last Saturday of March. Good day. Have yourself a blessed day. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.